love.
So that must make this Paris, and this is the 100th International Paris Motor Show.
Do you remember the Citroen C3? Well, I suppose how could you forget it, because you either loved it or you loathed it. Well, amazingly, that car is no longer in production, but it's 50 years since it was first built. Now, if you were one of the many who owned a 2CV and missed the experience and would like to recreate it 90s style, then perhaps I'm sitting in the car that could be for you. This is Citroen's latest concept. It's called the C3. And I've got to say, in a world where you've seen most things on cars, I have never seen one that comes with a matching handbag. Unbelievable.
The big noise as far as General Motors is concerned here at the Paris Motor Show is the introduction of the Vauxhall Zafira, a sort of stretched out and squeezed up version of the Astra. Now, GM do have a bit of an image problem with their cars. They're the biggest manufacturer in the world. They make lots of money, but their vehicles are hardly jaw droppers, and this is no exception, although it does incorporate one or two features that I quite like. What really sets the Zafira apart from other semi-tall vehicles is what's called the Flex 7 seating plan, and it's very clever indeed. You can see that this seat at the back has already been folded flat, and this one, all you have to do, press the button, the lever comes up, and down it goes. The seats always stay in the vehicle. Now, if you've ever tried to take out the back seats of an MPV, you know how heavy and cumbersome that can be, and this opens up something like 1,700 cubic litres of space, and it can be done in 15 seconds flat. And I think that's the strength of this vehicle.
Now, the trend amongst most manufacturers seems to be to go all retro, but Renault have decided to go all futuristic with their latest concept, the Vel Satis. And this is the car that in the future Renault hope will tempt you out of your BMWs and your Mercedes. Vel Satis apparently is French for max satisfaction. Quite how Renault are going to keep the driver so satisfied, I'm not sure about that yet. But if space-age technology is the thing that does it for you, then this car is packed with it. Let's start with opening this gorgeous car. Now, there is a remote key that will open it for you, but should you want to actually do it yourself, all you need is the slightest touch on the door handle. Ooh, wonderful. It does the job for you. Now, inside this gorgeous space-age cabin with this wonderful glass roof, you'll find grey leather everywhere, carbon fibre. It really is beautiful, and everything is remote control. You just turn this little switch here to the centre, the clock opens, and hey presto, there's your control panel. And you know those busy executives who can just never bear to drag themselves away from the office? Well, in the Vel Satis, they won't have to do. In here is a storage space that you can keep in all your letterheads, anything you need, all your stationery. And if you need to quickly type up the odd memo, how about this? A CD-ROM and a computer keyboard, would you believe?
I feel this is the way to go. You know, I don't feel right about looking at the future in the rear-view mirror. It is in fact a car which represents the first 100 years of Renault, but it is also the first year of the second 100 years of Renault. So yes, we have and always have had a very forward design approach, and that's the way that we're going to maintain it.
Okay, looking to the future with it, is this an exercise in styling? I mean, it is incredibly styled, it's beautiful, or is it something that realistically we very well may see this on the roads?
Well, from the design characteristics, if you take for example the exterior style, I would say that as much as 80% of that will come out in production, not on one car but on two cars. So it is, in fact, very much showing the way that we are going in the upper segment. And what I'm referring to is, you know, within the next 2 or 3 years. So it's not in 10 years' time.
It's pretty soon.
It's soon, yes.
So the turn of the millennium, we could be seeing something like this. Do you feel that you're competing anywhere with the likes of Mercedes and BMW, who are very classical in their design, and you feel you want to do something very different?
Well, as a generalist manufacturer, contrary to, let's say, Mercedes, who one would refer to as being a specialist, we have to make sure that our customers will buy our cars, and if they buy them, then clearly it's not by doing an imitation of a Mercedes or an imitation of a BMW. So our complete strategy is based upon offering totally different products, which are very much, in terms of inspiration, not over the Rhine or over the Channel, but in fact very French in terms of approach. And it's not question of nationalism. It's not that. It's we feel that as a European, we have to defend Frenchness in the same way that de Gaulle said about Goethe. He said, you know, Goethe was so much of a European because he was so German. And I think that our cars are going to be desirable if we offer something very different.
Meanwhile, in Sweden, those ultra-sensible people of Saab have been revitalising their product range with a new millennium in mind, with a rather nice, smooth-looking wraparound 9.5 series. And this is the very latest from that stable, the Estate 9.5. It's powered by a choice of 2 engines, the 2-litre, the 2.3 Eco-Power light-pressure turbocharged engines, and of course it comes bristling with advanced safety features. Of course, there are front and side airbags, but also their award-winning head restraints. Now, these prevent whiplash in the case of an accident because they come forward to protect the neck if you should have a bump. This is rather intriguing. Why on earth would you have a child security lock on the tailgate? Well, the answer is that this car was designed to have a 3rd row of rear-facing seats. But Saab aren't going to introduce them because they're not happy with the standard of them, so this remains an Estate.
If you want to experience the excitement of a motor show and it's the Ford Focus that's caught your eye, then I've got a bit of good news for you. If you pop into your local Ford main dealer, then you'll be ushered into a separate Ford Focus room where there will be a Ford Focus beneath the sheet. You'll be shown an audio-visual display with music, and the sheets will be whipped off before your very eyes. It really is quite an exciting experience. But of course, the only way to truly experience the Focus, as Ford know, is to get behind the wheel and to drive it, as Ian Royle has been doing for us.
Most of us from time to time have required the services of an agency to provide an escort for that big do. Yes, for years now, car rental companies have been sending the great British public out in what's become known as Ford's Old Faithful. Since 1968, the Escort has been one of the most popular cars around, but not for too much longer. By the year 2000, the past will become a blur, because for Ford, the future is Focus.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I be the first to introduce to you the newest addition to the Ford range, the Ford Focus.
Angling to upset the VW golf cart, this ultra-modern looking vehicle, which takes many of its styling cues from its big brothers Car, Puma and Cougar, is ready to make Escort Man re-evaluate what he wants from a car. Or is it?
When we started off on the Focus program, we researched with our customers and our potential customers what they wanted out of a car. And they clearly told us they wanted a car that was a new, fresh look, that stood out in the crowd, that was distinctive and appealing to them. And the Ford Focus design is that, it's all of that. It's not a Me Too design, it's very much a fresh new look for this class of car.
Probably the most striking aspect of the new Focus is, of course, its looks. It's a car that you either love or hate. There's very little middle ground, and personally, I like it. It blows the staid Astra and Golf out of the water with its style, which Ford call New Edge design. It has a flowing form with crisp edges, sharp intersections and these taut lines, and of course these distinctive new headlights at the front. It's the rear of the car though that has caused most discussion, with many people feeling there's something not quite right. The flowing lines don't quite flow. The Focus is longer and wider than the Escort, and that's meant so much more room inside the cabin. Even rear seat passengers won't feel as cramped. On the downside though is perhaps the boot, which, whilst adequate, you'd think would quickly fill up whilst loading for a long summer holiday. This really is a great car to drive, and everyone who's driven it will tell you much the same. Now, Ford claim that the Focus has class-leading ride, steering, stability, handling and refinement, and I, for one, am not going to argue with that. We've already seen how good the Puma and Cougar are, and the Focus just seems to continue that line and push the boundaries even further. The Focus comes with a wide range of engines and body styles. Engines are 1.4, 1.6, 1.8 and 2-litre petrol, plus a new 1.8-litre Endura direct injection turbo diesel. Probably the most fun will be had in the 130 brake horsepower 2-litre 16-valve engine, which at the moment is the fastest and most powerful, 125 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in just over 9 seconds. Body styles, well, take your pick. 3-door, 5-door, 4-door and an Estate, all with that distinctive new edge styling. Trim styles are varied too, CL, Z-Tech, LX and the top of the range gear versions. So most importantly, you want to know how the new Focus drives. Is it a match for the benchmark Golf or the superb handling Astra? Well, yes, it definitely is. This model is the 1.6-litre Z-Tech SE engine, which produces 100 brake horsepower. 0 to 60 comes round in about 11.5 seconds onto a top speed of 115 miles per hour. Acceleration is swift, flicking fairly easily through the gearbox. There's a little notchiness going into third, and you can rev it easily round to about 6,000 RPM. It's a really refined and smooth engine. So, the runes seem to be good for the new Focus. It's had almost unanimous rave reviews from those who've driven it. What matters most, though, is how it sells, and that surely will be good. Ford say they expect sales of 100,000 units of the Focus in 1999. Will its radical looks stand the test of time when in, say, a couple of years the Focus is a regular sight on our roads? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. It's a good quality car from Ford, following on from the Puma and the Cougar. They've done it again. Save up, see the bank manager, sell the granny. The car with the blue oval badge is a car to be seen in.
Well, back here at the Paris Motor Show, news has reached us of a Ford initiative with Mitsubishi. They're now putting Mitsubishi's fantastic GDI engine into the Focus. Another reason to buy this car. You'll do miles and miles for not many pounds at all.
Is it an estate car? Is it a people carrier? Well, Citroen would have you believe that the new Xsara Picasso, with its smiling frog face, is all three. Really, it's just yet another variation of the Renault Scenic, with proper seating for 5 people and bags of space. In terms of comfort, the Xsara Picasso is equipped with power steering, electric front windows with one-touch control, and an anti-nipping device on the driver's side. 2 electric defrosting spherical rear-view mirrors, central locking with HF control, an onboard computer and height-adjustable driver's seat, steering wheel and front seat belts. There's also a host of minor details too. An indicator on the instrument cluster to show whether the child's safety lock's been activated on the rear doors. Warning signals to indicate a risk of black ice or inform the driver that the key's been left in the ignition, or that the doors are open, or that he's travelling too fast. The dashboard is designed to take up minimal space. Of symmetrical design on 2 levels, it has a fully digital instrument cluster, visible to all occupants at the centre. A centre console designed to share information with all the occupants too, and a well-balanced interior design with its symmetrical layout, generous stowage space and controls accessible to the passenger. It seems that if you're a backseat driver, then this is the car for you. Picasso the artist was a cubist. I think the car's a bit square. But if this is the sort of thing that tickles your fancy, you're going to have to wait. We won't be seeing the Xsara Picasso on British streets until about the year 2000.
It's time now to take a break, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with more news from the Paris Motor Show. Well, Lada are a company that have bitten the dust in Britain, but they still have a very strong presence here on the continent, and they're here in full force at the Paris show. They have in fact unveiled a prototype, which is this thing. In the future, according to Lada, we'll all be driving round in mint green and white affairs that are electrically powered. I don't think so. And this is the reason why you won't be seeing one of those lovely prototypes put into production for a very long time. This is Lada 1998. This is their vehicle on the stand, the very best they can get off the production line, and just take a look around it. It's black, it's dismal, everything feels cheap. Look at the old-fashioned windows, they are so easy to break into. There's ugly squares everywhere, the steering wheel feels terrible. It's just not a promising future for them, I'm afraid.
One of the stars of the Paris Motor Show must surely be the Peugeot 206, designed to fill a gap between the 106 and the 306 and try and replace the much-loved Peugeot 205. Now, Peugeot are also showing here in Paris some concept cars based on the 206, and how about this gorgeous open-top roadster? Let's hope that this car will eventually make it to the UK. It has some gorgeous chrome and aluminium detailing inside. Or how about this rally version, the hot version of the 206, surely not designed for normal road use. But I have done a full road test on the Peugeot 206, and here are my thoughts on it.
The Peugeot 205 was one of the great motoring icons of the 1980s and early 90s. We British took to the Super Mini like a Frenchman to his bottle of wine. What we most liked about the 205 was, of course, the hot hatchback, the 205 GTI, first in 1.6 and later the cooking 1.9 version. It was a car to have fun in and could beat the pants off rivals like the XR2.
The 205 has not been available in Britain for some 2 years now because Peugeot have been spending very heavily on the 205's successor. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the imaginatively titled Peugeot 206. Now, Peugeot have spent some 4 years and £630 million developing the 206. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of dosh. This car has to be absolutely spot on. What's more, it's being built at the Ryton plant near Coventry in Britain, so it's French flair and British hands that are building this car every day. The 206 sits on an entirely new platform with a range of body styles, 3- and 5-door hatchbacks, plus a coupe cabriolet due in a couple of years' time. Now, Peugeot have had to be very careful how they position the 206 into their ever-expanding range. The 106 is now a super mini, the 306 a small car, and this new 206 takes on the mantle super mini. And in so doing, Peugeot have taken the guillotine to parts of the 106 and 306 ranges, with the upper 106s being chopped and the lower model 306s also destined for the wicker basket. This is a car which will take on the new Clio, the Polo, the aging Fiesta, Corsa and Punto in an already crowded market. And to do that, it has to look good, feel good and be great to drive. Now, before you drive the 206, first you have to look at it and like it. Breathe in deeply, get that Gallic whiff. Think of all the packs of Citroen cigarettes that were smoked by the designers when they were working on it. It has a very French look to it. I always think that French cars have a certain look and style all of their own, and this is no different. It has the new Peugeot house style too, swept-back headlights and bonnet at the front, and this high roofline here in the centre, which gives excellent headroom. Now inside the 206 the interior is functional without being outlandish. Everything is nicely laid out and easily at hand. This centre pod here, as well as housing this enormous hazard warning light, which unfortunately you have to reach for a little bit, also houses a display which will give you satellite navigation should you choose it as an option on the options list for the 206, and that's a first for a car of this particular size. The plastics disappoint though. Interior trim generally is very good. There are lots of different styles to choose from, and this Alcantara one in this particular model is very smart.
The 206 will be available initially in 4 trim levels: L, LX, GLX and a so-called Sporty XS in 3 or 5 doors with 4 different engines to choose from. The entry 1.1 is 60 brake horsepower, the 1.4 70 horsepower, the 1.6 90 horsepower and a 1.9 turbo diesel which pumps out a heart-stopping 70 brake horsepower. Prices range from £8,495 for the 3-door 1.1L up to £11,295 for the 5-door 206 GLX 1.6 litre with air conditioning, and these prices are pretty much what you would expect to pay. There's no GTI yet, but we should see a 2-litre 136 brake horsepower unit in 1999, plus maybe a really cooking GTI 6 is rumoured to be on the cards, but it's wait and see on that, I'm afraid. So if you like the look of the 206, you particularly want to know how it drives, and that basically is very good. This is the 1.6 that we've been driving for the past couple of days, and this has a slightly firmer, sportier suspension than say the base 1.1 model, which gives it a nice feel. So, have Peugeot come up with a winner in the new 206? Well, almost certainly yes. The styling's good, there's plenty of room inside for the passengers. Some would say it's a radical car. On the downside at the moment are the engines, which lack a bit of response and, quite frankly, lack a bit of oomph. You might be better going with, say, a Ford Fiesta. However, there is a GTI on the way, if that's what it's going to be called, and when that arrives, maybe then we'll see the 206 as a worthy successor to the 205, the much missed 205, and that is a compliment in itself.
Well, that's all for this week from the 100th International Paris Motor Show.
But there's so much going on here that we'll be back next week with even more. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.